So I've been thinking about my questions on the ride down here, and then they sort of evolved as we went through today. And I'm not sure if I should just ask the question or if I should set it up, because I think the story might kind of set it up a little bit.
Whatever you want.
Okay. So in February, I was feeling stuck when it comes to my focus and my thinking, and I shared that with my wife, and I said, I think I need to get some help. She said, I think that's a good idea. I think you've been dealing with this a little longer than you think. And so I was trying to navigate the healthcare system, the mental health care system, and it was really frustrating. Went through my primary, and he says, oh, I'm sorry to hear you're suffering from depression. And I'm like, never thought of myself as depressed. I'm like, I'm not depressed. I just don't ever want to get out of bed and do anything.
I'm retired.
Yeah. And so they put me on some SSRI meds and everything, and for like a couple months I was on that, and it really messed me up. And then in April, I had a panic attack and just crashed. And then something interesting happened. My wife called the hotline or whatever, and I spoke to somebody, and her name was Alicia, and she said, I can get you in tomorrow to see Jake. You've seen him before. I said, no, I think I need to see you. And she says, well, I can see you on Thursday. Saw Alicia on Thursday. Friday, things got worse. Saturday, things got worse. Saturday, I said, I'm just going to turn this over to the universe, because I knew I was just thinking myself into a downward spiral. And then Saturday night, I'm laying with my son in bed, and I type in United, because I had a flight coming up the next week, and I was kind of stressing about it. I type in UNIT, and the Unity Church of our city shows up, and I started looking at it, and it felt really good, because it was very much like Abraham principles. And I was like, wow, that feels really good. The next morning, I woke up, and I had been in bed for a whole week, and I was inspired to clean the garage. I'm never inspired to clean the garage. Did that on Sunday, felt good. Monday, I'm at my computer, and then all of a sudden the anxiety starts kicking up a little bit, and I thought, I'm just going to think about the garage. Started thinking about the garage, and all of a sudden I had this mind movie that just popped right into my head. And it was the conversation I had with Alicia on Thursday. Someone had it on pause. They hit play, and it was when she asked me this: have you ever had any issues with ADD or ADHD? Movie stops. I get an impulse. Look up the symptoms of adult ADHD. I looked it up. I started reading it, and I started crying, because I realized that that's what I've been dealing with my whole life. And so then I had a meeting later that day with Alicia. She said, how was your weekend? I was like, you're not going to believe this. So then I shared it with her, and I said, how do you get tested for this to find out if this is what you're dealing with? She's like, I could look up, or I could check right now. She's like, but usually it's going to take weeks to get in, but I'll look right now. She looks, she says, you're not going to believe this. What are you doing at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning? I said, I'm open. She says, okay, let me set you up. I got you an appointment. At 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, you're going to meet with Karma. That was the woman's name. And I thought, well, of course I am. And long story short, I met with Karma, and then absolutely that's what the diagnosis was. And I just turned 50 this summer, so I've been dealing with it. And it's like, okay, all of a sudden now it makes sense. And then there was a little energy surge, and then my wife thought I was manic, but that's a whole nother story. And so my question for you is that now I'm on some different meds to try to help regulate my focus. I've heard you say that your focus is your superpower. And I can hyper-focus really well, and I'm really good at being inattentive. I'm wondering two questions. One, do you have some strategies that might help me better be able to sustain my attention in a deliberate way? And two, the way this played out for me, I have a friend that always says it's hard to read the label when you're inside the jar, which sort of implies that we need others to help us. But in this situation, I felt like my inner being read the label for me because I was in the vortex.
And watched for an opportunity when you were focused, not so scattered,
right,
and could hear. Your inner being has great timing.
Yes. And so having gone through this for the first time, trying to navigate the mental health care system, I thought, what if, because it's overloaded right now, what if, to what degree can we heal ourselves through this process of self-alignment?
100%.
Thank you very much.
So we're just going to offer you a couple of phrases to set the stage for all of this, and then everything will click right into place following that.
Thank you.
And the most important thing, and we can feel a lot of synergy in this room around this, the most important thing to take away from this important conversation is that when we say focus, we're asking you to focus emotions, energies, not so much thoughts. And the reason that we are emphasizing that is because you all live in a world with so many people thinking so many thoughts about so many things from so many different directions that you are literally making yourselves crazy.
That's what I was doing.
Because of the incompatibility of the thoughts. So when you focus yourself into alignment with your source, that's when clarity comes. Now, think about the people that you've heard this a lot. Athletes get in the zone. Why is that? They're playing a simple game and they're focused on the game. They're not focused upon the economics of the world or climate change or political differences or. If they are good at their game, they are focused on the game. Think about runners who talk about running and getting in the zone. It's because the experience that they're having is enough all-encompassing that it causes them to focus themselves more energetically or emotionally rather than their mind chattering all over the place. It's the reason that we teach meditation, is because when you quiet your mind, your resistance goes away with the thought. You quiet your mind, you stop thought, you stop thought, you stop resistance. Our best analogy is, imagine a cork bobbing on the surface of the water. You can hold it under the water. That's what resistance is. When you let go, it will naturally bob back up. Humans keep believing that they need to do something specific. So they're looking for some process, some function, some science, something that they can apply in order to push their cork back up. They just need to let go and understand that their cork will naturally float. So then when you look at your own experience, you see, this is a statement that we want always for you to remember. Things are always working out for you. And they're always working out for you to the degree to which you're able to allow it. So as you now walk your way back through even more of the details that led you to this clarity that you are experiencing, you will realize that everything that you experienced fell right in line with what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
It also amplifies why the 13 years are all wanting to run and hide in the closet for a while, because the world wants them to focus into attention deficit disorder, because everybody's got some agenda that they're trying to promote. And social media, we call it Nosebook, not Facebook. So many things. There are so many more things to think about than ever before. Well, thinking about things is a delicious thing if you're in your centered place of alignment before you think, because then the things that apply or matter or are cooperative components all come together. Here's another strong statement that will help you. This may be our favorite thing that we've ever said.
Cool.
Clarity is born from chaos.
Ooh. Felt that.
So, with more embellishment, what that means is all of that chaos causing you to ask for clarity. Mm-hmm. But think of all of the chaotic subjects that you're asking for clarity about. And now think about your inner being with all that focused desire of yours, giving absolute attention to that. And then you finding ways to no longer do that thing you do that was keeping you from that. The more you create a vortex, and the faster, there is a better word, the more momentum that is calling you to your vortex, because your inner being is focused upon all of these things that you're asking for. And we don't mean material things. We do mean those, but longevity and balance and resiliency and flexibility and ease and focus and fun. All of those things that you're being called to. The longer you live, the stronger that calling is. But for most humans, the longer they live, the more the resistance is too, because they're trying to manage it with their mind rather than with their solar plexus. They're trying to manage thought rather than manage emotion. So now getting to the substances. Drugs help, but they don't help as much as focused alignment does. So if you didn't know about focused alignment and you hadn't already had positive experience with it, then a drug that might calm you down a little bit, numb you out a little bit, might be a good idea. But when you know what you know, they're just in the way. So the most important thing is, don't freak out when you have negative emotion. We've been teasing you all for years. You would not put a happy face sticker over the gas gauge in your car because it's depressing to know how little fuel you have. You'd usually want to know that and do something about it. And so the same with emotions. Emotions are your friend. They are your gauge to know how much of your attention in this moment of mood is in alignment with source within you and how much isn't. And almost always, when you find yourself in a mood where you're attracting negatively, it's this deep emotion of questioning your worthiness or even your right to be or your value in being here. And of course, there's nothing that's going to get you more out of whack with your inner being than going down that rabbit hole, because your inner being knows your value and sees all of the things that your life has helped you plan for yourself. So we're not in any way wanting to negate the value and the help of those helpful people. Many of them are inspired. They get intuitive hits. When the woman said, "You're not going to believe this," a part of her did believe it because she's seen it before. In other words, people that work in that field, they see the gamut of people who are asking, and often asking really, really hard. And it's such a pleasure for them to meet up with someone who's asking hard and sort of relaxed about letting it in. And so, take it easy. If we were standing in your physical shoes, we would like them to have labeled us with all those labels, because that means you're out in the world and you're collecting data and you care about stuff. And it also means that you've created a whopping vortex that is calling you in a strong way.